Hey, what's up guys? So in my last video, I talked a little bit about why I was selling my Sigma 18 to 35 for my Panasonic G9. And kind of make a long story short, the main reason was the focus. I do a lot of manual focusing, and you know, it's not the best manual focus lens. It changes focus rapidly when you even barely touch the manual portion. And since it's an adapted lens, maybe because it's an adapted lens, maybe there's something with the lens, you can't really trust the autofocus all the time, even if you're using back button autofocus. It doesn't quite get it perfectly there, and you kind of have to manually tweak it. And yeah, I wasn't nailing focus all the time. The lens is beautiful. The lens is a great, affordable lens. It's got a wide aperture, it's a zoom, good focal length, and it's tack sharp. But when half of your shots you can't nail focus, or for me personally, it kind of defeats the purpose. So, you know, like I said, I'll probably get hate for saying that, but it is what it is. Anyway, this video is about the lenses that I've come to really fall in love with, and that is these Rokinon Cine DS Prime lenses. I've got 4 of them right now. I've got the 14, the 24, the 50, and the 85 mil. Looking to get the 135 mil, and maybe the 16. I'm not sure, but these I have just become a huge fanboy of. I mean, I love these lenses. These are such a joy to use. It's so nice to have real cinema lenses for this cheap. It's ridiculous. I think they provide a lot of bang for the buck, and they are, if you can find the sweet spot, they are tack sharp. They are just ridiculously sharp if you can find the right T-stop. So, yeah, one thing to keep in mind is that these are full manual lenses, meaning the aperture ring and the focus are all manual. There's not a single electronic contact on them, so your camera's not even going to read what f-stop it is. So be aware. Although focusing on these things are just a joy. I mean, it's so fun to use these, and it's got a nice long focus, so it's very smooth, and it's got just the right amount of tension so that it's not, you're not accidentally bumping it. And then the same cannot be said for the iris wheel, or the T-stop adjustment. So it's a little loose, but I've done some modifications to fix that. I actually took some black electrical tape and cut a strip on it, on all the lenses, and I've wrapped it around the back ring, a couple of different layers, to add some tension and some friction. So now it's much more difficult to turn it. You have to do it on purpose. So what I noticed was, when I was taking video, and even if I just barely bumped up against it, just barely touched it, it would throw the T-stop way off, and then I'd have to put it back and restart the video. So I fixed that. You know, it's an easy little mod. Just put a little electrical tape on there, add some friction, you're good to go. You know, also, I mean, I do most of my shooting at a specific T-stop, based on kind of what I like to think of as the sweet spot of this lens. So that helps out a lot. Speaking of T-stops, each one of these lenses has kind of their sweet spot of where I like to be, where you have that nice dreamy bokeh, you have a nice open wide aperture, but at the same time you're keeping things sharp. So one thing to keep in mind with these lenses is they are not exactly the sharpest lenses wide open. The 24, the 50, and the 85 mil are all T 1.5, but at T1.5, they're kind of soft. They get this, especially in high contrast areas, you get some chromatic aberration, you get some, I don't know what the right word is, but some blooming around the highlights. It's very soft. So even if you just stop it down a tiny bit, if you take it from T1.5 to T2, which is roughly f1.8-ish, maybe 1.9, I don't know. It's actually more like 1.8 compared to some of the other 1.8 lenses that I've tested it against. It might even be lower. But if you take it to that T2 level, then it's spot on. Like, all these lenses are extremely sharp at T2.0. I've tested the Sigma 18 to 35 with the Metabones adapter side by side with all of these lenses at T2.0, which is basically f1.8 with the Metabones adapter. And what I've noticed is these lenses are sharper, and they are even brighter, allow more light to come in than the Sigma 18 to 35. Now, I realize that it's a zoom and that's its most open aperture, so it's not really a fair comparison, but I'm just putting that out there that, maybe the Sigma isn't always the best option. I mean, it's got its purpose for sure, but for me, that's just for me. Okay. So, yeah, we talked about the tape. Another thing is, you'll notice that these things look identical to each other with the exception of a small size difference. The 24 is surprisingly a little bit larger than the 50 and the 85. The 85 is actually the smallest and the lightest. It's a little bit heavier, but it's kind of the smallest lens. It's funny. And the biggest lens is the 14 mil. So it's interesting. But they all kind of look the same, so you gotta mark it somehow. I've got this giant sticker marking 50 mil, which is pretty normal for cinema photographers. But I've also, in smaller letters, I've got the equivalent focal length, what it would be on a full frame camera. So I'm using the Metabones Speed Booster XL, and that one has a 0.64 crop factor, no, 0.64 focal reducer. Anyway, I've gone through, and to compare to full frame, I've got the full frame equivalent. So this 14 mil is at an 18 mil equivalent on full frame when put on my Panasonic G9 with the Metabones Speed Booster. The 24 mil is the same as a 30 mil on full frame. The 50 mil is the same as a 64 mil on full frame. And the 85 mil is the same as a 108 mil on full frame. So that helps out a lot when I'm trying to kind of recreate different shots that I see other people make, photography or videography. Yeah, so the Speed Booster XL kind of sort of turns your sensor into roughly an APS-H size sensor, which I think is a 1.29 crop. I think with the Metabones, it reduces the crop down to 1.28, which is, I mean, basically almost the same. So yeah, that's my take on it. Like I said, I love these lenses. I'm looking to pick up a 135 millimeter when I go to Vietnam, maybe. It'd be nice to have a nice long telephoto. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions about this. I can do another video on it, but I just love these. They're so fun to use. And maybe I'll get tired of manually focusing, but they work really well. They work really well in video and pictures. Oh, and one last thing. One last very important thing is these are the Cine DS versions, that's the Rokinon Cine DS or the Samyang VDSLR 2, version 2 lenses. That one's a little bit more difficult to pronounce, but the reason I'm pointing that out is because they're the same glass, but they have different coatings than the photography versions. Now, I don't know if they've updated their photography versions, but I bought the 85 and the 50 in the photography versions, and the one with the clicked aperture, and I was not impressed. I was sad, very sad, that they were very soft and the colors were kind of funky. They looked completely different. When you changed the lenses, they weren't consistent. And on top of that, even at f2.8, they were still they were softer than these. And I happened to be watching a video about the Cine DS versions, not even the regular Cine version, but the Cine DS. And they said that they had updated their coatings to reduce glare and to reduce chromatic aberrations and some other things. And I thought, okay, I returned the photo versions, and I was like, you know what, I'll give them a shot. If they don't work, I'll return them. And I was shocked at the difference. Like, same glass, but the coatings, or maybe the quality control, maybe, I don't know what it was, but something made these much better than the photo version. So I wouldn't recommend the photo versions, honestly. I wasn't very happy with them. I didn't feel like they were worth the money. These, I feel like they are worth the money. I feel like they're worth every penny. And they're so fun to use if you like manual lenses. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I ramble a lot, so I know people are gonna say, oh, you talk so much, you need to get to the point, but that's who I am. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, subscribe, and I will talk to you later. Peace.